Okay, we'll go ahead. The next of the concept or chapters, income tax return or provision of filing of return of income and self-assessment. In short, we call income tax return or return of income, same thing. Okay. We also use the short form at times, ITR or income tax return. Yes. Income tax return. Fine. Now, logically, pay attention. Oh, vacation. Logically, this has to be your last of the chapter because we finalize the tax liability. This much now we can do everything, isn't it? And the last chapter we will test. So that will test us that we can do all the calculations. But after all the calculations, after paying taxes, how can we pay taxes? TDS, TCS, advance tax, self-assessment tax also. And the final process that remains is income tax return. Now, where all the mention of income tax return of section 139 has come yet? Do you remember anything? Yes, first of all, we saw somewhere in PGBP. Just now we did, in the last lecture, we did like this TDS allowance, this allowance. Then section, some payments have to be done before ROI due date. PGBP. TDS is done, no, TDS done, deposited before ROI due date, that much you remember. Some other important payments have to be done before ROI due date. Very important. 43B. Then TDS happened. Then anything else in capital gain? CGAS. Remember or no? CGAS. Because you are claiming deduction in income tax return. So some payments have to be deposited in your CGAS for capital gain. Nothing in salary. Nothing in salary for 139. House property. Again nothing. CG done. IOS before ROI due date nothing. But there is something now in chapter of losses. Set of carry forward of losses. Over there we had seen many tables where we could carry forward the loss or not depending ROI is filed or not. Salary there is no loss. This is clear. HP loss. ROI. We are talking about return of income now. ROI filing within due date or not filed, is it okay with HP loss? Allowed. It can be carried forward or set off even if return is not filed or return is not filed within due date. Remember? HP loss done. In PGBP, only for unabsorbed depreciation it was okay. Others you have to file return of income. Yes or no? Then in CG, required to file return of income within due date. IOS, nothing given like that, no? Because I think that loss itself lapses. If you check IOS loss, it lapses. So there is no question of carry forward or set off of losses of IOS in the next year, correct? And why it is important to carry forward loss? Why it is important to carry forward loss? You can set off, simple. In the next year, whenever you will make income, it is a good thing, no? That you can set off the earlier year's losses from the current year income. That's why it is necessary or important to carry forward the loss. And the carry forward of loss can happen only because, if at all, in many sections, if the return is filed within due date. Remember? Fine. So you have to first of all understand the due dates of income tax return. There are primarily three important due dates. Do you remember? Main we know about September and July. We'll check from textbook itself. Chalo. So section 139 talks about, remember 139 is income tax return. This 139A, we will come to that in some time. So check. Filing of return. A return of income is a declaration. What it is? Declaration of income by the assessee in the prescribed format. Now this is obviously income tax return is filed by the assessee. So the details in the return are filed by himself, or it is calculated by himself, the assessee. Are you following here? So he is calculating on his own and then declaring. It is a kind of a self-declaration, right? Now we come to 139(1), filing of return of income. Pay attention now. So there are two things, whether return is compulsory or not, and then we will go to due date of returns. Companies, firms or LLPs, it is compulsory to file the return. It means with or without turnover, with or without profits, immaterial of that or irrespective of that. If the assessee is company, firm or LLP, they every year have to file income tax return by default. Understood? Even if it is making losses or there is no turnover, still done. Other person means now who are? Yes, individual mainly, HUF, AOP, BOI, and your artificial judicial person. Your trust also falls in that. Okay. Trust, political parties, they all fall under AGP, BOI, all of that. Political party is also an institute, no? It is also a legal entity. You donate to a political party means to who? It is a legal entity, no? Important now, pay attention. Whose total income or that of any other person in respect of which he is assessable. First of all, let us understand what the meaning of this. Whose total income? The assessee's total income. Or that of any other person in respect of which he is assessable. Which concept? Clubbing. The assessee himself may not have earned that income, but he is taxable. That means his income, the other person's income is added in this income, club. So that concept is of clubbing. Clubbing means your income increases or no. Even if it is not your income, but still taxed in your hands. Understood? So your income or otherwise someone else's income without, pay attention now, giving effect to. That means we are discussing which figure? Before chapter 6, that is GTI, gross total income. So before chapter 6A, or deductions of capital gain, 54, 54B, 54D, EC and F exceeds basic exemption limit. Are you following here? That means if the gross total income, or even before gross total income, why? Capital gain. Remember? Now, if you remember a little bit, our format, particulars rupees and all of that. We go head of income wise. In the outer column, we put the final figure of the head of income. We take total of all, we get gross total income. But these specifically, be careful here. These are not reduced from GTI. They are reducing the same head of income itself. So ignoring chapter 6A and ignoring all this deduction of capital gain, if the amount is more than basic exemption amount or limit, then income tax return filing is compulsory. Try to understand it in a very simple language that chapter 6A and CG deduction can be claimed only in income tax return. That is the meaning of this. Write down that. Over there also you can write down, or anywhere in the notebook also you can write down. Give reference. It means what? Chapter 6A and CG deduction can be claimed only in income tax return. Let's make this 4 lakhs. Okay, everyone okay till here? Your net taxable income is how much now? 2 lakhs. Return is compulsory or no? We discuss the second part. Individual HUF and all of that. Other than company form LLP. Income tax return compulsory, yes or no? Yes, you have to understand. Without giving effect of means what? Without considering. I'll give 2 examples. Wait, no. Pay attention. Again, LTCG same 6 lakhs. 54 EC 2 lakhs. Taxable 4 lakhs. Where income tax return is compulsory in both the cases. Before giving effect of chapter 6A or other capital gain deduction. If that amount is more than basic exemption amount, you have to file income tax return. Are you following here? Again, if I do over here, if I change the examples, whatever, less, chapter 6A is not allowed, no? From LTCG, so let us not complicate that. Fine. ITR compulsory. Write down in the notebook. ITR compulsory since before 54 EC exceeds basic exemption limit. Are you following here? Possible? Is this possible? Two lakhs. ATC. Correct. I am giving section also now. It can be in 80E, 80D, 80EE, 80GG, depends. Or 80G, donation, whatever. Chapter 6. What will happen? Compulsory for both. Yes? ITR compulsory. Since now what? Before chapter 6A deduction exceeds basic exemption limit. Yes? That means again what you will check? 4 lakhs and 6 lakhs. Understood? So this sentence, okay? Chapter 6A and CG deduction can be claimed only in income return. This meaning is what? Don't get confused. Okay, that means pay attention. To claim chapter 6A or to claim CG deduction, you have to file income tax return. That is not the meaning. That is not the meaning that to claim this. Correct. If I say LTCG. Pay attention now. 2 lakhs, let us say. Okay. Less 54 EC to 1 lakh, whatever. Net taxable income 1 lakh. Will you pay tax or no? That unexhausted basic industrial limit, that the concept is there. But will you file return now? No, this much you understand? Because before the deduction, the amount is less than basic exemption amount or limit. Yes? Write down. Not compulsory, but can you file voluntarily? You can file voluntarily. Okay? Write down. Bolo. If ITR is filed, if filed or not filed, that is a separate concept. Here you are saying 1 lakh, right? Taxable, and income tax return is not filed. They are separate sections, no? Where did you take benefit of unexhausted basis amount? Where? Which head of section? Which sections? CG chapter. This is another chapter, and all the chapters have separate effect for itself. So ITR is not compulsory since before 54 EC doesn't exceed basic exemption limit. Yes. Let us change the color. Done? All these three understood? It's good, not bad. Next one, amendment. Satya is gone. Satya hai. Read. Okay, pay attention. Any person other than a company or a firm. Important now. Shh. Go ahead.
If such person A has deposited an amount or aggregate of the amount exceeding rupees 1 crore, the month of all that accounts maintained in the banking company or a cooperative bank.
So how much you have deposited? Important now. In highlight current account. Because savings account by default used to get love letter from income tax department. For savings account today also, if you deposit more than 10 lakhs rupees cash, aggregate in a financial year or PY, if you deposit more than 10 lakhs rupees cash in savings account, you will get invitation from income tax department. Come, let us have tea and discuss from where you got this cash. Why you deposit so much cash? But here, the change is about current account. Current accounts were never tracked in case of deposits. Are you following here? So how much limit is given you now? 1 crore aggregate. Those people have to file income tax return irrespective of income. Are you following here? This is separate now, and this is separate. Are you following here? Next one, Satya.
Or an incurred expenditure of amount or aggregate of the amount exceeding rupees 2 lakh for himself or any other person for travel to
Foreign country travel. What? 1 crore. Savings now, sorry. No, it is actually the bank's report. The bank themselves report that in our account, the person has deposited more than 10 lakhs in the year. So when the banks report, you get that. So if you maintain separate, it gets, that is not a problem. For bank. 1 crore not given right now. Accounts maintained with a banking company. So that particular bank account. Usually people don't open many current accounts. 3 or 4 are sufficient. Usually you have for business you have only one or two accounts. So even like for today also, many people may have 4, 5 savings account, but mainly they use one or two. Others are just for security or extra. So second expenditure is what? Foreign travel. How much? More than just 2 lakhs. 2 lakhs. Or foreign travel. Even if you go to your favorite place, still. Still almost an expenditure happens. And if you go twice in a year, definitely will happen. है ना? Now you know what is your favorite place. Next one. So expenditure on foreign travel for self or someone else. They have not written your spouse or family. Yes or no, Saurabh? So anyone else also. But for foreign travel. So within India, no problem. Outside India, tracking will be happening. Okay? Foreign bank? Foreign they have not given here. Banking number or cooperative bank account. Look. Satya, next one. Consumption of electricity. Even these are tracked. All these amounts are kind of now tracked. Which one we saw in TCS? Motor vehicle, other expenditures, yes. And over here, electricity consumption of rupees 1 lakh. Average household 1,500. You have many ACs and many microwaves. 2,000 higher side. 2,000 okay. You are very rich. 3,000 higher side. 3,000 okay. Covers 36,000. So here we are talking about more than 1 lakh at least per annum electricity. 5 bedroom hall kitchen wala, you can say. Bungalows. Yeah, penthouse. Yes, all of them are amendments. Be careful with these. But which type of assessee? Again important, other than company or firm. Or everything. Yes. That means a company deposits in current account cash, no problem. Company spends on foreign travel, no problem. Company spends obviously on electricity, obviously not a problem. Yes? Good. That foreign bank account covered now. Patil, read. Next one. Orne and ROR. Huh? Okay, wait. Who is not required to furnish a return means who? Other than all these. Other than all these. These conditions are not hitting. We are talking of ROR and not required to file income tax return. All these are required to file income tax return or exception? These are filing, no. So the person is not required to file income tax return and is ROR, but some more conditions are given. Some more conditions are given. Check, read.
But except these, who all?
Like you, people like you. People like you. I don't know about your foreign travel, current account and electricity. So these as well as any other income before this is less than basic exemption limit. So not required to file income tax return. Read, Patil, read ahead. So what is outside India? A set is outside India. Which asset? Any asset. Very importantly, including any financial interest in any entity. Even if you have shareholding in any foreign company, you may not have any income in India. You are not required to file income tax return in India, but you have asset outside India. You are required to file income tax return in India, giving details of that foreign asset. Giving details of that foreign asset. So you were saying, no, if you have a bank account outside India, that in fact comes under compulsory filing of return, and is a beneficiary. Beneficiary means nominee, or who can authorize, who has the POA, power of attorney, for using that account. It may not be in his account, his name, but he has POA, power of attorney, for that particular account. For again any asset which is located outside India. That means two things: asset in his own name, or secondly, asset is not in his own name, but he can use those assets. Use how? Because he is the beneficiary, or he has the POA for that asset. Which asset? Any asset, but both of them are located outside India. This Swiss bank's account, all the other holdings outside India, this you have to report. Okay, it includes shareholding also outside India. Well, that depends on the rules of that country. We are learning rules of current country, our country. Depends. Now, if you tell you again, imagine from that country's point of view, that country's, there might be again some threshold limit for taxation, these amounts for them. If you're earning in that foreign country, but if you again have a asset in India, for that country it becomes this India's foreign country. So depends on the rules and regulation of that country. Yes? I'll tell you to stop when to stop.
Section 139(1), 30th November 2019.
You can make it 20 if you want. But you know na? Yeah? What happened? No na? For your syllabus, it is applicable to 2020, no? For your syllabus.
I'll read.
Yes, you will read.
30th November 2020, assessee who is required to submit transfer pricing report form 3CB.
So we have 3CA, 3CB, 3CD. In tax audit we have, and moreover from that we have 3CEB, that is your transfer pricing audit report. Okay, that is also an audit. Okay, 44AB was also audit. This is also transfer pricing is audit, but for that form number is 3CEB. Okay, for that due date is what? 30th November. Now transfer pricing, pay attention. Anybody any idea? Transfer pricing, uniform pricing. Again, you have too much in detail in final, but I can give you just a small, you can say, summary. There are two types of transfer pricing. One is foreign, another is domestic. Now, whenever you have a certain, like you can say, related party transaction, not correctly, you can say RPD, because RPD we discussed a little bit is company law. Similarly, in income tax law, we have something known as associated entities. Associated. Now, again, definitions of associated entities are different in income tax law, but mainly here you can understand mainly about holding and subsidiary. In very common examples are holding and subsidiary. There are again examples like majority of purchase and sale is from those parties, or there is common directors and all of it. Okay, till here. So if holding is selling to subsidiary, or subsidiary is holding to, or subsidiary is selling to holding, those transactions should be at arm's length price, ALP. Arm's length price. Are you following till here? Now, what is arm's length price? It should be a fair market value or uniform. Now, it may happen that you may sell at less than ALP or more than ALP to avoid taxation, or to avoid basically tax. Simple example. Pay attention. If subsidiary is selling in India, okay, at a particular market price of rupees 100, 100 is the sale price. How much tax will they pay? 30%. I'm just again saying random figure, or you can say that round figure of 30%. But if subsidiary, pay attention, sells only to holding, are you following here? And now obviously holding subsidiary can decide what was the market rate. They say we will not sell at 100, we will sell at 50 rupees. Our company, we can do anything. Agreed, correct, no problem. But they'll pay tax obviously half now, 15 rupees. Yes, how did they manage this tax reduction? If they would have sold in India to a non-associated party, they would have sold at market rate of 100. But since they are selling to associated party, they can determine their own rates of sale price. Agreed, that is also not a problem. What will income tax department do? No problem. That if at all you would have sold in India, the ALP, arm's length price is 100. You still sell to holding at 50. We have no problem. But pay tax of 30 total. That is by arriving at arm's length price of 100. Kuch samjha kya? So then, if it is at ALP or not, for that you have to do transfer pricing audit. No sir. Good. Don't worry. Not part of your syllabus. Find it here little bit. Yes. Next one. So the tax audit, the income tax return due date is what? 30th November. When transfer pricing audit is applicable. Next one. No, it's you only. I'm just seeing he's paying attention on me. Otherwise, I'll ask him to read. Don't worry.
30th September 2020, a company.
So company by default. Company by default 30th September. But pay attention. Here, what do you see? Any assessment? What about a company having transfer pricing audit? Then that company will also go to 30th November. Company with transfer pricing audit, TP audit. They will go to 30th November. Everyone got it?
A person other than a company whose accounts are required to be audited under the Income Tax Act 1961 or any other law in force.
Tax audit. Any assessee now other than company who is required to get themselves audited under income tax, that means 44AB, as well as now any other law in force. Okay. Some of you in foundation have done LLP Act. Was there a concept of audit? Anybody? Foundation? Itna nahi tha. If you have paid up capital, pay attention. In LLP, only LLP I am talking about. LLP Act is not Companies Act, first of all. This is clear? Very good. Acha? हाँ क्या? But in company law, did we see audit? Companies Act 2013, did we see audit? Section 139 also we have seen. Every company by default has to be audited under Companies Act. Under Companies Act. LLP under its own act will have audit, but again there are limits. Not every LLP needs to be get audited under LLP Act. So LLP with paid up capital of 15 lakhs or more, or with turnover of 40 lakhs or more, they need to get audited under LLP. Companies under Companies Act by default, even if 0 rupees turnover, or even if 0 rupees paid up capital for that matter. Yes or no? So that is under that law. Is it clear, everyone? So again, so any person tax audit, any person means can individual be there? Can individual be tax audited? Simple, yes. If turnover is more than 50 lakhs or 1 crore. Yes or no? Firm. Obviously yes. LLP. Yes. Any other type of person also other than company. For them the limit is or the criteria is tax audit. Then they will be, their income tax return due date is 30th September. Keep this thing is also in mind. Highlight this. or any other law in force. That means non-income tax they are talking about only. है ना? It can be Companies Act if you want, you can write on there. That is Companies Act, LLP Act, etc. Companies Act, LLP Act, etc. Companies Act as it is covered. Yes or no? You can say LLP Act. LLP Act, etc. Companies Act is already there, no? How? Because company is already covered separately. Got it? And last one, read.
A working partner of a firm whose accounts are required to be audited under the Income Tax Act 1960 or any other law or 1984.
Okay. Important. Firm, partner in the firm. Fine. What you have learned is correct, but from income tax point, different. What you have learned in Partnership Act, firm and partner are same. Very good. When Income Tax Act, firm and partner not same. Firm type of assessee firm. Partner in firm assessee is partner है क्या? What is type of person? Assessee individual. Partner. Saurabh. Is it okay? Type of assessee are different. Yes? You have done PGBP also. We have done PGBP. Which sections are applicable for firm, partner, remuneration? Firm pays remuneration, interest on capital. I am asking something more specific. 40B, 40 small b was what? आगे बोल आगे बोल 40B आगे क्या? 40 small b उसमें क्या होता है? Limits are given. Limits are given of the amount to be paid to partner. Over and above that becomes disallowed.
Yes.
For that we calculate book profit. Up to 3 lakh book profit, 90% or what paid, whichever is higher allowed. Over 3 lakh book profit, 60%. Taxable. Remember? So pay attention. Now remuneration paid by firm to partner. Pay attention. The remuneration paid by firm to partner is allowed in the hands of firm. That's why it is allowed as deduction. Therefore, it is taxable in the hands of partner. Remuneration. Yes. And important now. Pay attention. What is the income of partner from the firm? What all income? Okay, remuneration, that is salary, good. It all is part of remuneration because wordings we have seen. If you check again definition, remuneration includes everything by whatever name called. Salary, bonus, commission, whatever you call it. That is one. Very good. Other is interest on capital. Third, profit. Very good. Yes. Loss also. Loss. Shh, pay attention. Pay attention. Remuneration is allowed as deduction to firm. That's why taxable in the hands of partner. Agreed. Interest up to that amount limit is allowed as deduction in the hands of firm. That's why taxable in the hands of partner. Is again income. Profit tax on the same is paid by firm. That's why exempt in the hands of partner. Very simple logic. When can partner of the firm file his income tax return? Before or after firm's return? After firm's return. Return means finalization of profit. Even though, pay attention, even though profit is exempted in the hands of partner, is it is income or not? Yes. And to claim exemption, first you have to show it as income. This much you understand. Profit from the firm is income of the partner. Show it, and again similarly immediately claim exemption. But to arrive at profit in the hands of partner, you have to finalize firm's profit. Now, simple thing now. Tell me income tax return due date for the firm if 44AB is not applicable. Be careful. Be careful. Read, I mean, you may have to read entire table. Not applicable.
Because July
31st July. Which cases? This doesn't fall under those two cases. No TP audit, no tax audit. No TP audit, no tax audit, no audit for the firm. Due date for the firm is 31st July. Okay, that's why even the partner can file by 31st July. Simple. Keep one thing in mind. Partner's return or partner's income is dependent on firm's return or firm's income. Clear till here? Now similarly, now pay attention. If you say 44AB is applicable to the firm, then due date for the firm is 30th September. So how, pay attention, how can you expect the partner? How can you expect the partner to file income tax return before 30th September if the firm itself can file by 30th September? So that's why you have to extend the due date for individual partners also if his firm is under audit or if the firm's due date is 30th September. In that case, the individual partner also can file up to 30th September even if he himself is not liable to audit. Also, even if he himself means the partner, he is not liable to audit, but his return due date becomes 30th September because his return due date is dependent on firm's return due date. Keep that in mind. Simple. Understood or no? So check a working partner. Again highlight working. Types of partner: nominee partner, sleeping partner, nominal partner, all them. Here they are not dependent on profit of the firm. Okay, so they can file earlier. But here we are mainly talking about working partner. He is going to get profit from the firm. Shh. Done? And last case is what? Shh. 31st July. Everyone, 2020. Which cases? Which cases? Which do not fall under transfer pricing audit as well as any audit of 30th September. They do not have to file by 30th September. So there are how many due dates as such? Under 1391, 3 due dates. Earliest one, 31st July. The majority of the assessee fall under this category of 31st July. Now you will see some problem, practical problem. The majority of income tax filers, I am talking about quantity wise, not tax liability wise, quantity wise. Majority of our people are under salary. 1 crore, 2 crores. Those many number of people are working under or earning salary income only. Okay. Now for them, tell me their due date for salary. Just typical client. Your first client will be your salary client. His income tax return due date is 31st July. Let me take the year for PY 1920. 31st July 2020. Okay. His PY got over on 31st March 2020. Is it okay here? Okay. Interesting is how many months he has to determine his income and all of that calculations. April, May, good, June, and entire as such July. Fine. It is very easy to say that they have 4 months to determine their income tax return and finalize and all of that. Correct? But for salary person, okay, when does he get his final tax computation? Because he doesn't compute. Salary person, he himself never computes. Because yes, the entire responsibility is put on employer. You tell me when does he get all the details? Give me date.
30. Sorry, first meeting.
50. You ask any salary individual, can he file income tax return without Form 16? He will say not possible. You go to any income tax filer, CA, tax consultant, he will say, can you file income tax return without Form 16? He may say yes, but he will wait for Form 16 because it is very easy to do with Form 16. Okay? Form 16 due date, that means maximum you may be able to get your Form 16 by 15th June. Practical cases. Literally you get only 45 days or 1.5 months to file income tax return. Are you following here? I am talking of typical case, not only case. These are typical, regular cases. Are you following here? That's why the workload unnecessarily increases for the last 45 days only. Even if you say you have 4 months to file income tax return. Are you following here? Understood? As well as tell me other business people. If I say salary is not there, PGBP. When will you get all the TDS certificates? Same date it is. If you remember, I told you they sync. Sync means they come in same due date. Bank deducts tax on interest. Yes or no? You have done FD. You will not understand till they file income, till they file TDS return, or till they give you Form 16A. That's why unnecessary load is on the last 1.5 months. Yes, you can do that. I am saying it is possible. It is a headache. You have to add all 12 months salary income. You have to check. See, keep one thing in mind. Salary for all 12 months is never constant. Why? Bonus and increment. Very good. Loss of pay. You have not worked 1 month, some urgent leave. Never ever. That means you have to add a basic of all 12. Remember chapter of salary. Remember chapter of salary. HRA. Didn't we segregate always? So it becomes very complicated. All these complications, actually the headache is taken by employer regularly. So if you don't have Form 16, you have to do unnecessary work. So a work which may be done in just 1,000 rupees, for that you will have to charge 3,000 rupees because your work increases. And a salary person never pays 3,000 rupees for income tax return. He is happy to pay just 500 rupees by the way. Okay. Anyways, that is the case is. Chalo, Patil, read. First paragraph. To whom PAN is compulsory. They have to apply for PAN. First was what? What is the first condition? Gross income or total income exceeds basic exemption limit. Okay, till here? That means there is a tax liability case. There can be tax liability case. That's why they should take PAN. Secondly, if the person earns PGBP income, then his turnover or receipt should be exceeding 5 lakhs. That's it. Turnover. Not profit. Turnover. Okay. Then in this case, these people have to take PAN. Okay. Permanent account number. Next one. So charitable trusts have to take permanent account number. Specified. IEC. Import export code. Or EIC. Export import code. It is EIC we call it. And GST. That means those persons who have import export code. IEC, not EIC. Import export code. You require this code if you have to export as well as import. There is a separate department for that. Okay? Separate government department for that. So if you have this code, you should have PAN. If you are registered under Central Excise or GST, again you should have PAN. So for these people, PAN is compulsory.
कौन से लोग आते हैं स्पेसिफिक फॉर
Those who pay taxes, indirect taxes, central excise and GST. Excise, petrol, diesel, excise is still there, excise duty, and GST is on any good or majority of the goods and services. So the person who has this registration, they have to have PAN. Yes? Done till here? Should we solve question? जोर से अरे ड्यूरिंग द ईयर कॉमा इंटरेस्ट ऑफ रुपीज 2,88,000 तो ऐसे को कुठे नाही ना वाचा नहीं नहीं रुपीज 30,000 के पढ़ो फिर for some time. Okay, so Paras is resident in India. He got income of 2,88,000 from which account? NRE account. He earned 30,000 from what? Bank FD interest and 3,000 as savings account interest. Then he also has a property asset in Kerala. That is second sub question. And third sub question, spent 3 lakh rupees on travel expenditure, foreign travel expenditure. Purpose can be anything. Okay, everyone. So case 1, case 1, type of asset is what? Individual. What will you check for due dates? Huh? जोर से बोला नहीं वो हिंदी क्या कर रहे हैं रिफंड
आपने क्या पूछा
तो क्या बोल रहे थे क्या ब्लू पूछ मैंने क्यों पूछा व्हाट आर यू सेइंग देन असु दे असु बू he is individual soon he is individual to determine his due date what will you check all the other what boxes conditions okay what condition good income before chapter 6a और CG deduction आगे क्या more than AC exemption limit. Write down computation of. That is second, third, fourth sub question. Property in Kerala. Then what? Foreign travel. They are separate questions. Okay. What if they said no? What will be your answer? If means what? Other case. Asudeva. Computation of. I want net taxable income of Mr. Paras for PY 1920 AY 2021 particulars rupees. Everyone okay till here? How many heads of income, Patil? Income from other sources. Under that, what do we have? NRE account, savings, interest, whatever. NRE account interest, how much? 2 lakh.
8,88,000.
Next one.
FD interest.
Wrong. Section. 4. How much? Entire amount. Yes. Second, bank FD interest. Yes or no? Bank FD interest. Now here the name of the bank is important. I know it is SBI. Why the name of the bank is important? So what? This is FD, no? Not important. Savings account is still with SBI, not given. Assume with SBI. Okay?
Anyway.
10 what? 15. 10, 15. Post office, remember? For that you have to be careful with savings account interest. Right now not given, assume regular back only. How much earned? 3,000. Yes? Therefore my RGTI is what? 33,000. I want NTI for time pass, that is different. Less what? Chapter 6A deduction. Which one we can take? Huh? 80 savings account interest up to rupees 10,000. No, how much have we earned? So we can claim yes 3,000. Therefore NTI is 30,000. Net taxable income. Fine. Notes. So ITR compulsory or no? ITR is compulsory or no? Not compulsory because what is below exemption? Below exemption limit. What? GTR. Okay. Since gross total income doesn't exceed basic exemption limit, therefore filing of income tax return is not compulsory. Fine? What do you recommend? We'll finish that, then you can take a break. So notes. Point number 2. In that we have no case 2. Why it is important? Instead of the thing is, instead of Kerala, if it was Canada. So asset outside India, in that case, even if it is exempt or not required to file income tax return, then it would have been. But asset is in India, not foreign asset. Write down. If asset is in India, ITR filing is not compulsory. And third one, foreign travel, expenditure exceeding rupees, yes. For self or any other person. Saurabh. For them, ITR is compulsory. Yes. Fine. Voluntary is always. Voluntary is always. Compulsory or not depends on the conditions. Income is how much. If income is less, then not required, no? But then you check down what expenditure or foreign asset. That all you have to check. Okay, take a break.